أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله آل الله واللعنة الدائمة على عداوتهم أعداء الله من يوم عداوتهم إلى يوم لقاء الله أما بعد قال أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام إني أوصيك بتقوى الله أي بني ولزم أمره. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. We continue with our discussion on the last testament of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, where day before yesterday's lecture, before the Quds Day topic, we were talking about the first sentence in this Wasiyah of Amir al-Mu'minin, whereby he counsels his son Imam Hassan alayhi salam on various aspects of how to live his life and how to manage the affairs of life. This testament is a valuable resource which can be, without any exaggeration, be said that this is a manifesto which Amir al-Mu'minin has given, and a syllabus, an ethical and a sort of management syllabus for life. Those people who study books or who do courses on behavioral management and personality development, those who are interested, and since this has also become a science now on personality development, this letter of Amir al-Mu'minin should be, I won't say can be, should be considered as a syllabus for that. The valuable principles and the solutions which Amir al-Mu'minin has presented to his son about how to manage issues related to his own nafs and about the affairs of the people are very beautifully presented in this manifesto. We were talking about the first sentence where Amir al-Mu'minin advises his son first thing is to acquire taqwa. He says, my wasiyah to you, my counseling to you is that you should acquire taqwa and obey the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my son. We took one dimension of taqwa which we were discussing in the before lecture, which was taqaddum. That dimension of taqwa which was related to the affairs of the ummah, the relationship of the ummah towards their leader, and that Quran termed as taqwa by heart. When you do not possess taqwa in your heart, and when you only have taqwa in some of your actions, whereby you refrain and abstain from certain things which are haram, but in your heart you do not have a protected way of life or a feeling that where you should live a protected life, then many such mistakes or sins are committed by the people, and they don't live a perfect life of taqwa, which is a divinely protected life. A simple example I will give over here before jumping into the subject again is that, like women when they do hijab, they are not having khashiyat. One is doing hijab whereby you cover your face, cover your hairs, cover your body with abaya or with chadar or with gown or whatever you call it. You cover those essential parts of the body, but there is no khashiyah. You are not concerned about what is hijab. Hijab with khashiyah only comes when hijab with khushu only comes when taqwa is present in the heart. When taqwa is present in the actions, you will see a black veil on the body. But when taqwa is in the heart, the woman would be concerned from every exposure towards na-mahram. Even in the hijab, many times women do hijab, but their arms are going up or the neck is seen. This is all because khashiyah is not there, concernedness is not there. And when khashiyah is not there, it means taqwa is not present in the heart. Similarly, not just covering the body, they speak in a very soft manner with na-mahram. All these things come because taqwa is not present in the heart. They're covering their body, but at the same time they're intermingling with na-mahram also. They're sitting on internet and chatting with na-mahram. For them, cousins are just like, mahram. All this is because taqwa is not present in the heart. Amir al-Mu'minin has given a specific advice related to women also in this particular testament. And I will, inshallah, if I get time in one of the lectures, we'll talk about those things as well. Hence, when taqwa is not present in the heart, we can commit a lot of things. We can transgress and break the limits anytime. And one of the examples which Quran is presenting over here is in Surah Hujurat, whereby the issue of taqaddum is present, whereby the Quran says, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allahi wa rasulihi wattaqullaha inna Allaha samiyun alim. O you believe, do not take precedence of Allah and His Messenger, and be careful of your taqwa for Allah. Surely Allah is hearing and knowing. And the next verse then specifies another issue. Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu la tarafa'u aswatakum fawqa sawti an-nabiyyi wa la tajharu lahu bil qawli kajahri ba'zikum li ba'zin an tahbata a'malakum wa antum la tash'urun. O you believe, do not raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet, and do not speak loud to him as you speak loud to one another, else your deeds will become nullified while you even do not perceive. Then the Quran specifies that when you do such things, where is the root cause? The root cause is what? In the lazina yughadhuna aswatuhum inda Rasulillahi ulaika alladhi amtahana Allahu qulubuhum littaqwa. Surely those who lower their voice, those who do not take precedence over Allah's Messenger, they are those whose hearts Allah has proved for taqwa. Taqwa is proven for them, testified for them, certified for them. When you remain silent, you do not take precedence, or you do not raise your voice above the voice of the Holy Prophet. Now, in this wasiyah, Amir al-Mu'minin is doing this wasiyah to his son to acquire taqwa, which means always live a protected divine life, adhering to all divine principles in all affairs of life. And taqwa is ordained for every affair of life, individual as well as social. As I mentioned before, taqwa has various stages, and one stage is taqwa of heart, which is present in these verses of Surah Hujurat. If taqwa is present in actions and not in heart, then that is almost like nifaq. Taking precedence over here, which the Quran is presenting in Surah Hujurat, means not just taking precedence over the words or the voice, taking precedence over the will, intentions, and decision by your leader proves a person does not possess taqwa in a heart. He might be having taqwa in actions of harams and makruh, but not in the heart. And in our routine life, we do this very often. We do not even consult or even care to see what is the will, intention, and decision of the Prophet in those affairs where we are indulged. Why the believers have been so shameful over here in doing these things, that so shameful, careless, courageous, they do not even care to talk about what Allah and Prophet has said in various affairs of life and just take their own decisions. In the political domain, you see believers sit, meet, have meetings and talk about elections. They start the meeting with the verse of the Holy Quran, but not a single scholar raises this question that we are scholars, interpreters of the Quran, representatives of the religion. Hence, we should at least bring out the opinion and stance of religion in this matter. Like when you do elections in your committee, has any scholar even come out in Friday prayers or somewhere to mention that what is the opinion or the religious stance on managing a community, whether it is a democratic way or what is the way which the Quran has presented, which Allah has presented, the way the Prophet was doing it? We just do precedence. No one says or refers to this and even discusses about the order of Allah. They all unitedly ignore Allah and Prophet. They use Allah in elections to get vote and even say that cast your vote for the sake of Allah. They even say that the Prophet would be pleased when you vote so and so candidate because he is very religious person. I remember the painful incident which took place in UK in the elections which took place I think 2 years back. The incident was that some revolutionaries, highly revolutionary, who considered themselves as next to Rahbar, the revolutionary group in the UK, when they posted a a note on their website and promoted that Rahbar would be pleased if you vote for the Labour Party, if you vote for Jeremy Corbyn, with a note over there that Rahbar's desire is this, that you should vote for Jeremy Corbyn. They never asked Rahbar that what is his will and intention. And it is very strange that how can a leader be pleased to go and vote, first of all to vote, which is not the Islamic political system, and that to vote to Jeremy Corbyn, who proudly comes on the internet and on his videos, which can be seen, where he says, I am the one who has promoted LGBT in the UK, and I am the one who is promoting RSE in the UK. So it's very strange that people very comfortably take precedence to fulfill their desires and impose their decisions on the decisions of the leader. Did these people ever ask the Prophet, ask Allah about their decision? God forbid. They only use Allah, Prophet and the leader as a tool. They take their own decisions and start to impose their decisions on people in the name of Allah. Our religion says first identify the command and order of Allah on every topic. And when you find that order, then stop right there and look at what is in your heart, and do not do taqaddum. Do not take precedence, else it will be insult and something unethical. Do not use the logic of Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab, that so and so also does this. If you ask Abu Jahl, why do you worship idols made from stone? He will say Kaaba is also stone, Hajar Aswad is also made of stone. So what is the difference? If you can kiss the wall of Kaaba, if you can kiss Hajar Aswad, if I am kissing idols made of stones, what is the difference? I am also worshipping stone and you will also worshipping stone. Such kind of people bring some objective reference as a resemblance to counter their evil acts. If you tell them to not smoke cigarette, they will say so and so Aga smokes it, so and so Mujtahid smokes. So if some Aga smokes, then it does not mean he is doing a good act. There are many elders and Agas that smoke cigarettes, but this does not give justification for smoking. If some big Aga is smoking, then it is not a permission for smoking, but this act of Aga comes under that question. That Mujtahid's act is under question and not a justification over here. Whenever the name of big personality comes, then we adopt silence. When a big personality is smoking or young man is smoking, it does not matter. It doesn't matter who is smoking. It's a wrong act, is a wrong act. And a wrong act is wrong in an absolute sense, then you do not look at who is doing it. The companions of the Prophet did all sort of things, right as well as wrong. And we give reference of companions that they were doing this, hence we should also do the same. No, that's not the way to look at. They leave the orders of, some of the companions used to leave the orders of Allah, commands of Allah and promises of Allah. And we also do the same today. And we take other paths and then give justifications. It is also done there. This is absence of taqwa. Quran says, O you believer, O you ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allahi wa rasulihi wattaqullahi. The purpose, why taqaddum is stopped, why precedence is stopped and prohibited, because this is ongoing. When Quran is presenting something, it is not something which is presented for that specific era. It is not an issue which was only confined to between the Prophet and his companions and the physical presence of the companions in front of the Prophet. No. This is going on. This kind of behavior is seen in all the believers. At times undesirably or intentionally, and some go forward of Allah. Taqaddum is prohibited and it is haram. It is said with a no, la tuqaddimu, no. And this happens when the law of Allah is expressed and people give their own opinion. This is taqaddum. This is precedence. They should refer to the commands of Allah, but here man expresses his own view, opinion and decision, and this way he commits a sin also, and that too a sin whose damage is way more than to his personal self. That is to demand the command of Allah and express his own opinion over here. At the time of Holy Prophet, the newly converted Muslims and those who were with the Holy Prophet long before, due to the nurturing done on them by their culture, the Arab culture, they would also go forward of the Holy Prophet and speak out where they were not expected or allowed to speak. The place where the intention, will and decision of Allah has to come and be acted upon. but instead they placed their own decisions over it. And this was not just creating ethical problems, but instead it became a means of misguidance and disgrace for others as well. They became the basis of confusion, bewilderment, and deviating people from the path. Look at our meetings, at times many happen. There is one chairperson, one leader of the meeting, maybe a respected scholar. Everyone will start to give their own opinion, and not just give their own suggestion, but give their own opinion and impose the opinion and want everyone to follow it. At the end of the day, there is confusion. Then another thing which happens is, when the command of Allah and the Prophet and religion is present, if you take precedence over that, then you are delivering a message that command of Allah can be ignored, and you understand your issues and situations and your community better than anyone else. Hence you can take a better decision than the Messenger of Allah. If we see, this is happening today. The scholars in the West, some of the scholars in the West, your sheikhs in the West, they are a clear example of taqaddum. They clearly say that the belief that we are more qualified in the West and we understand our issues more than the Marajes sitting in Najaf and Kum is something very common. Similarly, many of the ritualistic people, when they follow the rituals in religion, which are cultural, this is also taqaddum, because Allah is giving a certain set of law. In front of that law, you are bringing your own culture. This is taqaddum over laws and orders of Allah. Do we ever assess, like when you do azadari, the rituals which you are doing in azadari, do we ever assess that these rituals are coming from Allah, from divine source, from Aimma alayhimus salam, or these are our own self-carved? If these are our own self-carved, then this is taqaddum. We do so many rituals like this kunde, nazar, niyaz, and all kind of things. Have we ever stopped and paused and checked where all this is coming from? Is this coming from religion? Is this coming from Allah? Is it coming from the seerah of the Prophet and his successors? What are the commands and orders of Allah on this? All this falls under the same category of taqaddum, which means taqwa not present in our heart, which means our hearts are not protected, which means we follow religion to a certain extent, but at a certain time we try to impose our desires, our choice, our opinions in religion. We always say, no, Jamaat has decided this, trust has decided this. Do we assess what Allah, Prophet and successor and his leaders have decided on this matter? We approach marja after we take decisions to get attestation. Committee has decided we should take vaccination, so now take a stamp of marja. We have left the laws of Allah and placed ourselves against the order of Allah, making our own laws, orders, policies, and we abide by those laws and make others also to adhere them. And this violation of laws in this manner is taqaddum, which is a crime. And this doesn't mean that this was only at the time of Holy Prophet. Taqaddum doesn't mean that when the Prophet is walking, your leader is walking, you be humble and walk behind him, do not walk ahead of him. No. Taqaddum means not going ahead the will, decision, intention of your leader. And as I said before, that this is not just applicable for the Prophet, it is for his successors as well. Like today, if you see, the Prophet used to issue Sharia laws, okay? But after the Prophet, today we have mujtahids who are issuing Sharia verdicts. So who gave the rights to the mujtahid to issue the Sharia verdicts? If this principle of taqaddum is only applicable to the Prophet, then why? Then the same can apply for Sharia laws also. The Prophet used to issue Sharia verdicts. So why are the mujtahid who are non-infallibles are issuing Sharia verdicts? Because there is a system. The system of wahi, revelation, has ended at the Prophet, but the system of teaching and propagation has not ended. And teaching and propagation has also certain rules and policies. And this part of doing ijtihad, research in religious matters based on the principles which are present, is permissible in religion. If Sharia permits a non-infallible after 1400 years to issue a verdict, then the other principles which are present in the Quran related to the Holy Prophet are also applicable in every era. And hence this was the argument of Imam Khomeini also, that you can issue fatwa in the matters of kitchen, in the matters of toilet, in the matters of say maybe haram, and in matters of of sood and interest, but when it comes to Hukumat-e-Islami, you say, no, this is not applicable to us, this was for the Prophet. So when other things of Prophet gets transferred after 1400 years to non-infallibles also, then why can't those other principles not get transferred to the non-infallibles? Hence, law of taqaddum applies to the leaders of our era as well. This is very important point. This means taqaddum is not something which is only specific to the companions of the Prophet and the Holy Prophet. No, it was to the companions of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the followers of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Ummah of Ali ibn Abi Talib and Ali. Then the Ummah of all the Imams, and then the followers of Maraji, the Muqallideen, cannot do taqaddum over the decisions and the fatwas of Marja. Similarly, a Marja taqlid cannot also do taqaddum over his wali, over the wali faqih. This is what happens. There are big Marja sitting in Iran. When Rahbar declares that Eid is coming now, that tomorrow is crescent has been sighted, it has been proven, when Wali Amr is issuing a decision, which as per Islamic principles, when Ulul Amr issues a decision on crescent sighting in Hukumat-e-Islami, it is to be acceptable by everyone. But certain marjas will say, no, we have not seen the crescent. As per our fatwa, it is not sighted. This is taqaddum. They are doing a crime over here. And following such a marja-e-taqleed is not permissible. If a marja-e-taqleed takes precedence over the leader, Wali Amr, in that particular state where Islamic Hukumat is present. Similarly, children taking taqaddum over their father, who is the wali, this is a crime, this is a sin. And at times, out of love and affection, the mothers, the family members, they preach the children that do not follow your father. No, this is wrong. This is haram as per the principle of Quran. This is not permissible at all. When Allah has stopped in this verse that la tuqaddimu, do not go forward. If an ignorant speaks out, that is goes forward, then he is undisciplined. But same thing applies for a scholar also. He is a much bigger disobedient person because he has studied these laws very well. Hence, a faqih should also remain silent when the wali is taking a decision. When rahbar is taking a decision on certain rituals of azadari, fine, that's rahbar, that's the leader, that's a wali amr. All maraji and other faqih fuqaha should remain silent. They cannot take precedence over here. Hence, if you see taqaddum in vilayat, every stage of vilayat, taqaddum is not permissible. Son over father, scholars, maraji over wali faqih, this is not permissible. Today, Iran is struggling and eventually is giving up over revolutionary values or compromising over revolutionary values, which Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi never wanted to compromise. Compromising on the path of Islamic revolution is because of one fundamental problem, root problem which Quran has presented is taqaddum. If you see, after the Islamic revolution, the elections were done and Bani Sadr was appointed as the president. Bani Sadr did taqaddum over Imam. But Imam took a very strong stand and ousted him. Then when Rahbar became the leader after Imam, none of the democratic presidents who came over there would accept and submit to his views. Khatami gave a very tough time to Rahbar. Rafsanjani gave a very, very tough time to Rahbar. Anything or everything which Rahbar would decide as a policy, Rafsanjani would go against that. In fact, he imposed his decision to this extent that Rahbar, after so many years, came and apologized that it was my mistake, that I wanted Iranian nations to basically expand in numbers, increase the population. But Rafsanjani wanted to do population control. And Rahbar, based on Rafsanjani's imposition of decision, he agreed to it and said, yes, apply birth control measures. And then he apologized a few years back that it was a mistake which I did. This was the kind of taqaddum which people like Khatami and Rafsanjani were doing. Then you see Ahmadinejad who came after them. Ahmadinejad in the first 4 years actually did a rajat, returned the rights of leadership to Rahbar. Rahbar was never able to play the role of leadership in its true essence till the tenure of Ahmadinejad. Rahbar was just like Queen of UK. they would just come for some attestation. Everything was managed diplomatically. The diplomacy, the democratically elected government was managing it, and there were some godfathers also, when like Rafsanjani, when they were not the president, trying to control the system. Ahmadinejad returned back the status in the first tenure. But in the second tenure, he also did the same thing and did taqaddum. When in 2009, the Velvet Revolution came, all these personalities who were contesting the election, they were all doing taqaddum. When the Rahbar has decided something, they went and did precedence over him. To that extent that they created a big rebellion. As I said before, taqaddum is not just an ethical crime where you are ethically doing something wrong. Its effects and consequences are disastrous in a community. It can end up creating a fitna in the community. And all this happens because taqwa is not present in the heart. None of the democratic presidents, if you see in Iran, accepted the Rahbar. For 4 years, Ahmadinejad accepted, but after 2009, when he saw that people are with him and he gained some, that popularism which came inside him, he did the worst taqaddum over Rahbar, even what Rafsanjani and Khatmi would not be doing. Then the nuclear issue. Then after Ahmadinejad, it was Rouhani who came into power, backed by Rafsanjani. And the main agenda was to sign the nuclear deal, which means remove the sanctions, submit to US, stop your nuclear enrichment. Though Rahbar was telling that very clearly that we are not doing nuclear enrichment for making bombs, but no one listened and they enforced their decision on the Rahbar. Rahbar created certain red lines, gave them a room to negotiate there. It was all an outcome of taqaddum which was happening. They sat across the table, they did deal with US to remove sanctions, and then as per the leadership advice and counseling that US will betray you, same thing happened. All this infiltration, now today if you see the kind of infiltration which is happening in Iran, every other day there are attacks which are taking place on nuclear plants. In Natanz, a big attack on Natanz took place. Then Shahadat of Haji Qasim Soleimani. All these were outcome of what? Infiltration which took place inside the Iranian system. And this infiltration was also an outcome of taqaddum. Taqaddum, when people in the diplomatic government, the democratic government, were not listening to the leader, trying to impose their own decisions, they were creating a big room for enemies to infiltrate inside. After the Islamic Revolution, the materialistic inclination was very high in the Iranian nation. And this was the blessing of Rafsanjani, one reason. And the second reason was the democratic system. The democratic system itself is a precedence over the Islamic system. Imam Khomeini introduced the democratic system only as an interim stage because he could not change a decades-long system which was present in Iran all of a sudden into Hukumat-e-Islami. Otherwise, it would have a very highly repercussive effect over there. Now, if you see the tape which Jawad Zarif's tape which got leaked, 3 hours tape has been leaked and there are additional 4 hours. 7 hours of an interview which he has given privately. The point is that no one is talking. When this tape got leaked, you see Rouhani, you see Sipah, no one was talking about what he said in that tape, in that interview. Everyone was talking about how this leaked out. Who did this? Who were involved in leaking this out? It was only Rahbar, which I'll come to what he mentioned later on now. Now, this tape which leaked, one simple clear message which was given by Jawad Zarif was that in Iran, there is no room for diplomacy. The democratic government is just like a puppet government. All policies are made by IRGC, which means the leader, and they have no say. And he quoted various examples that when he was trying to do the nuclear deal, Haji Qasim Soleimani was trying to spoil the deal along with Russia. Now, Haji Qasim Soleimani, whatever he was doing, he was not doing on his own. He was doing on the instructions of the leader. So very clearly, Zarif was telling that Rahbar did not wanted this deal to happen and he was trying to spoil the deal, which is true. Rahbar did not wanted the deal to happen, but our revolutionary people, when the deal happened, were very excited and dancing over there that, oh, Iran did a big achievement, whereas Rahbar was not happy with this. Hence, now when this tape is released at this time, There are various factors why this is released. One is to soften the IRGC so that the deal which is again going on with US, there is no interference by the revolutionary principalist element that subsides when such things come out in people, that the entire power is controlled by IRGC, by SIPA, and not by the state government. It can again start a wave of rebellion. Now, by exposing these things at this time, is done to make this deal happen. And second is also the elections which are coming up in Iran. Hence, if you see what is happening in Iran, in this same tapes of Jawad Zarif's interview, in one place he mentions, which is going to come out soon, which is not released now. In the initial 7 hours tape it was released, but then they chopped it and got 3 hours out. That Haji Qasim Soleimani's shahadat, his assassination, was done, is in his assassination, certain senior persons of Sipah were involved. It was an infiltration, which is true, we cannot deny that, because such kind of a high profile personality targeted in such a way cannot take place unless there is internal infiltration. And this infiltration was not just from Iranian, you can say Iraqi side, it was from the Iranian side as well. Where there was an infiltration, there were right information giving leak at a very high level. He even mentions this in his tape, that the Ukrainian flight which came down was not incidental, it was done intentionally. It was done intentionally, it was done to foil the efforts of the government to do any negotiation after Haji Qasim Soleimani's shahadat, because after Haji Qasim Soleimani's shahadat, Rouhani wanted to capitalize on that and make a deal to remove some sections, take some benefits from US, from Trump out of this. And this attack on Ukrainian aircraft was done, as per Zarif, because to just foil that efforts which was been put by the government over there. Now if you see today in the Iranian system, the infiltration has gone to this level where so many attacks are taking place on their marines, on their nuclear sites and everything, is something very dangerous. And it won't be an exaggeration to say that at a higher level in Iran, the true revolutionary person is only the leader and there is no one else left. And I said this before also. Everyone is doing taqaddum over the leader. Ask them what is the view of Rahbar and what are you doing? It is all opposite. Even the representatives sitting in different countries, they are not following the leader. You ask them, what is the instruction to you from the leader as a representative of the leader's office in other countries? There is one instruction which leader has given to all the representatives very clearly, that your primary responsibility is to propagate the revolutionary thoughts, is to propagate Inqilab-e-Islami. You need to be a messenger of Inqilab-e-Islami, that is Islam in Naam, in wherever you are. But they do all sort of other things instead of doing this. In fact, when someone else is trying to propagate Islam in Naam, like in Kashmir, Ustaz Syed Jawad Naqvi is trying to propagate through his speeches and guidance to the Kashmiri nation to take the path of Mubaraza and Istiqamat. The representative's office comes back and says, stop this. This is the maslahat. Pragmatism is there in this, that we should not be doing this, as we are in good books with Modi. So all these representatives are also doing taqaddum over the leader. In Iran, same issue due to which this infiltration take place. You see Mohsin Fakhrizadeh. Who killed Mohsin Fakhrizadeh? The chief of intelligence of Iran comes on the state television and says that Mohsin Fakhrizadeh was killed in an ambush by Sipah themselves. This was all a story which was made, that it was satellite controlled attack and satellite controlled machine gun and he was tracked. No, not a single bullet has hit his car, not a single bullet, nothing. And chief of intelligence of Iran is coming on a state television channel and telling that, and then Iranians say, oh, he is foolish, he is stupid. What do you mean by he is stupid? He is the chief of intelligence. And since last almost, I think, 8 years, he is a chief of intelligence. And you say he is a fool, he is a stupid person, then why such stupid person is there in seat for 8 years? Mohsin Fakhrizadeh, according to him, was killed by Sipah. Why? Because Israel has also mentioned, Netanyahu has also mentioned that for last 26 years, a very high profile person in the nuclear development system of Iran is our person over there. Now we don't know whether Mohsin Fakhrizadeh was the same person or someone else who was there associated with Mohsin Fakhrizadeh, and he was silent on this. As per some reports, just before few days before his assassination, Mohsin Fakhrizadeh was scolded by Rahbar that he is having a very loose hand and a lot of information is leaking out. So such kind of infiltration, when this is present inside Iran, then under this situation, what do? And when infiltration has reached to such high level of IRGC, the Sipah, which is the backbone of the Islamic revolutionary system, the regime, then this is a big issue. And what is the cause of the issue? The cause of the issue is the democratic system which is underlying. It's a democratic system. If there was no democratic system, if it was only Hukumat-e-Islami, Rahbar could take a very quick decision and remove the president, remove anyone out quickly, change people the way Aimma Amir al-Mu'mineen used to do his Hukumat with governors appointed by himself. Now, on the same Jawad Zarif's comment, the statement which Rahbar issued a few days back, what was that statement? He said very clearly that the foreign minister is the executor of the policy and not designer. The democratically elected government is just an executor of policy. They are not designers of policy. Which means, and Zarif sent a message on Instagram on Rahbar's statement that leader's word is final. I accept that. That whatever leader says, we have to accept. Okay. So, not looking from the worldly perspective, but looking from the revolutionary side, from the Islamic government side, which is true. Leader's words, leader has to decide the policies and rest all have to execute. So why this drama of democracy is created in Iran? When every policy is in the hand of leadership and the leadership system of Sipah, then why you're creating an eye-washing government in front by asking people to come out and cast votes and do elections and creating a confusion across the world, showing them that along with Islamic government, you can have a democratic government also. This is going, first of all, this is going against the principles of Quran, that you are allowing people's opinion, and then you're yourself telling that this is just an eyewash, their work is only to execute. For execution, policies cannot be made by the government, government cannot take a decision, government cannot decide the path of the nation, which is true, fantastic, excellent, we accept that. And this is the way it has to be. The leadership has to decide. But then why such things? Why democracy is inserted in between? Remove the democratic system and go for a Hukumat-e-Islami. Just let the leader appoint the executives and let them execute them. Why are you asking people to appoint the executive? Why are you giving the rights to the people? And you're giving the rights to the people to this extent, they can even elect those mushtahids who come and sits in Majlis-e Khobragan to supervise the leader. There is a fundamental flaw. And when such democratic systems are present within the Islamic system, then that opens the door for taqaddum. Because when I am coming with, say, 20-30 million votes as President Rouhani, I am coming with 40 million votes, 40 million people are with me, then what the hell? I don't care for the leader. 40 million people are with me. They have given votes to me. How many votes leader has? 1 vote. Whereas 40 million votes are with me. This opens the door for taqaddum and creates such a big fitna over time that you cannot just come out of it, and infiltration takes place to this high level that you lose high profile personalities like Haji Qasim Soleimani. You lose such personalities because of such things. Hence, when taqwa is not present in the heart, one of the misdaq of taqwa not present in the heart is taqaddum, which Amir al-Mu'mineen does wasiyah to his son that, oh my son, ya bunayya, acquire taqwa. I am doing this wasiyah and taqwa at the level of your heart, so that for your taqwa is not just present in your actions, but it is present deep inside your heart. That for everything which you do, every decision which we take, every policy which we decide, we first stop, look at what is the command of Allah, what is the command of Prophet, what is the view of leadership on this, and then We do as per their will and intentions and not try to impose our will and intentions. You might say that taqaddum means that la taqaddumu means that dictatorship, that the leader has to just dictate and we have to blindly follow with our hands folded. No, it's not like that. The Prophet was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that counsel your companions, take their advice. A right leader always would take advice and suggestions from his people. But based on the advice and suggestions and his own research and his own views, whatever decision he comes out, you cannot overstep and override that decision. The point is this: Quran, religion is not stopping you. In fact, it is promoting the concept of giving suggestions, counseling, even to leadership. But these suggestions, when they turn into a decision, yes or no, whatever it is, you have to accept it, submit to it by your heart, and not take precedence. Do not raise your voice over the voice of your leaders. Then you possess taqwa in your heart. And there are various such instances or objective reference and misdaq present in the Quran about taqwa of heart. When those who are, like I said, in Battle of Siffin, what happened? With Imam Hassan alayhi salam, what happened? When people took their own decision, when Imam is fighting, they are getting sold off to Muawiyah. When Imam is doing sulh, they are pulling their sword against the Imam, that why are you doing sulh? They are not listening to the view and decision and opinion of Imam. You look at Imam Hussain alayhi salam. When Imam Hussain alayhi salam has decided to go to Karbala, who has the rights to stop him? When he is standing on the outskirts of Mecca and telling everyone, I am leaving tomorrow, I am leaving now, whoever wants to join me can join me, I am leaving. And people like Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, Abdullah ibn Abbas, they come and tell, oh, why are you going? You should not go. It is not better for you. This is all coming under taqaddum. You are taking precedence over your leader. And they don't even join him. It's not that they were giving suggestion and then finally accepted what Imam Hussain was telling. They did not even join him. Abdullah ibn Jafar comes with an amnesty letter from Bani Umayyah, from Yazid, that we will give you refuge. Look at Imam's decision. He is on the way. And you are coming to stop him instead of following the decision of Imam. This is taqaddum. When taqwa is not present in the heart, this happens. It's not that people who were doing this, they were irreligious or corrupt people. No, they were all religious people. They were all respected personalities. They were pious. They were zahid. They were worshippers. They were abid. But they lacked this taqwa in the heart, where they went to override the decision of a person like Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. And same thing happened with all the Imams afterwards. And then eventually Allah took his last Imam away and is waiting for the Ummah to develop this taqwa in their heart, so that the last successor, the vicegerent, the savior can come. Because if Imam Zamana returns now, same thing which people in Siffin did with Ali, with people did in Madain with Imam Hassan alayhi salam, with people did in Mecca with Imam Hussain alayhi salam, same thing would be done with Imam Mahdi Ajalullah Farajuh Sharif. Same thing we will do exactly. Like today, if the Iranian nation who just do Alajal, and Jamkaran is full of rush and everything, but then they go over and override the decisions of the leader. If they cannot follow Wali Faqih, if Rouhani cannot listen to Rahbar, how will Rouhani listen to Imam Zamana? If Zarif cannot listen to Rahbar, how will he listen to Imam Zamana? If Mohsin Fakhrizadeh could not listen to Rahbar, then how will he listen to Imam Zamana? All these things are very clearly evident in front of us. That's the reason Baqiyatullah, Allah has kept his remainder away, so that we prepare our heart for taqwa, and Ramadan is the month to prepare our hearts for taqwa through the divine book of guidance. Inshallah, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to develop taqwa in our heart, and inshallah we'll continue with some more snippets out of this manifesto which Amir al-Mu'mineen has given in the next few days, inshallah, if Allah gives the tawfiq. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.